Okay, so let's quickly finish up this menu. Uh, Something else that say we can do. um, we can actually open up the original project or run the original project as well. That way we can have it in another tab so that we can compare it. This is on a different user account. So this will be at localhost 8101 instead of 8100. I'm sure it'll just open up again. We can put this over here. Let me change this to a 1. And now we'll be able to get this out of here. Now we'll be able to also look at the other project while we're looking at this project. Okay, so let's quickly finish up this menu. Okay, so for our ion items, these right here, you can look at what we did in the other project. So a little something like this. Font size is 20 pixels, border radius of 8 pixels, and we want to align our text line center. There we go. Okay, now for getting some margin around it, we can just come up here. You don't need this ID. We're not using it for anything. And we have these IDs, which we haven't stuck anywhere. We could place them in the ion items, which there really wouldn't be used for anything unless we were doing testing or using Selenium WebDriver or Cypress or something. It would make it easier to key on the items and buttons so that we could click them. But aside from that, they wouldn't really serve any purpose. Okay, so in the II content, we can add a div and take this, and we can just couldn't have an ID or class, but I'll just do it inline, and we'll say margins, put some margin around all of it. Margin is 10px. And now it's got some spacing around it. And now that looks more like what we have. Okay, before we go forward, I just want to touch on some of these properties that we haven't talked about yet, just so that you know what they do. So the router link, I think, is pretty obvious, right? We have our menu button URL, and that's what controls the URL. This router direction just basically is how we want the new page to come up when it comes up. So this can be root, forward, or back. If it was forward, and this might be kind of hard to see here, but if you look at this line, you can see how it kind of comes, the new page kind of comes on top of itself, basically. It might be easier to see if we do it here. Might be more obvious. So come here and say forward, and now when it changes, it's like the page is coming from the bottom, sort of on top of the other page. Is kind of what's happening, and backward, back is like the opposite of that, where it comes from the top. Kind of subtle, but you can kind of see it moving a little bit. But if you do root, it's just like right on top of itself, so you can't see it. And that is what I was going for, because it looks a little smoother. Like it just changes. It doesn't just like up, poof up, or poof down. Uh, there's that. There's these lines which can be full, none, or inset, and that has to do with the ion items. If you look at it, you can see very barely causes this little black borderline to be on the bottom. If you were to do inset instead, it's like a partial black line. But yeah, just not as fine. Detail was false by default, so we don't even actually need it, but that causes an arrow to be here, which kind of helps the user know that, hey, if we click this button, there might be some details that pop up, but we're not actually using it that way, but that's all that does. So we can actually just get rid of that since it's false by default. Um, yeah, there's also this hydrated class that was on it as well. And that just says like once everything is done that it's ready to be rendered. And I've personally not noticed any difference at all using it or not using it specifically for this. So um yeah, I just wanted to quickly cover some things that we hadn't actually touched upon. Not this one. Touched upon yet. That way it might, make a little bit more sense. Let's be like, okay. Okay, so covering the last things we need. If you look at this menu, you see that it has a border on it and it has an underline. And we already added the style for that. This thick underline class is all we need. And we can just come in, add that to this, add it here. Now we have, just make it so it looks the same. So now we have our underline, but we also need a border. To add the border like the other ones, we can just add our class of thin border right here, and to give it the same radius, we can just do inline style equals border dash. You see how it's already giving us the radius. You can just tab or like press up, be using up and down arrows to select stuff, and then you can tab to select it if you don't, so that way you don't have to type the whole thing out. This one was just 8 pixels. You don't need the semicolon because it's by itself. And when it comes to doing styling inline versus defining a class, whether it's in the file or here, if it's something that you're gonna do in a million different places, in the event that you have to update it, right, it will be much easier to only have to update a class in one place versus to have to go to all of the different places where you did something inline where it's exactly the same and you decided to change it. So if you're repeating something over and over, it's better, like in all code, doesn't matter what you're doing, or what language it is, better to have a function or whatever. Yeah, you understand. It's the maintenance becomes easier if you only have to update it in one place. Something else I didn't mention else about the style. This scoped word right here makes it so that this styling only affects this file. If the scoped wasn't here, it would affect the whole project. But yeah, okay. So we see this is not aligned so well. We could just add a little margin to it, to this label. Let's do style margin top. Let's put some dash top colon 7px. Just to put a little bit margin on top, and you can see that this gap is way smaller than this gap. You can also add a semicolon since we're adding more styling, and it works just like this. You only need a semicolon if you're adding another line, and the last one does not need a semicolon, but you want to put a semicolon on everything to be safe, you can, but I'm not doing that. Yeah, and do margin left, and we can say negative 12px, and that yanks it over some. Tries to. All right, I think that looks. It looks better than what it was anyway. Okay, we can quickly change how these button functions on hover, like this menu button and this button. Um, if we go to the Ion docs and look at Ion button, all of the Ion elements have some special custom properties where you have to use these dashes to actually access them. So we can make another file, call it ionic.css. Okay, and just to see what that looks like, since I've already done it, we can target those elements. See, ion button and the ion menu button, and we want to target the background hover opacity and set it to 0. And let's just go ahead and import this. And call it the ionic.css. Okay. So now we hover over it, it shows nothing. But well, it doesn't show that circle and stuff. We do want it to do something. We just want to change the opacity a bit. So we can also do, we take these, let me say, when we hover over them, we're going to want to set the opacity to 0.61, and we can change the transition speed of how quickly that changes. Transition opacity 0. And we can ease and out. Okay. So now you can see that it changes when we hover over it. And that will affect all of our buttons. Okay, put it off for long enough. Need to do something about our band-aid not being green and our shield not being there. So looking through the code, I guess the ion icon has to be an SVG. It can't be a PNG. If you use a PNG, it has to be an image, and you would have to do a VIF. And we could do that, but might as well go ahead and turn it into an SVG. That's something that we can learn how to do. So, free and easy way to do that is just PNG to SVG. There's a free website that we can use. This one. Okay, so we can just come here, go to our image, drop it in. There should only be 3 colors. Okay. And we generate our SVG. Here we go. I'm going to download the SVG. And we can save it. SVG, called Shield SVG. Already exists. So now, come here. SVG, SVG. And now we have a shield. Okay, so the last thing that we'll need to do is color the Band-Aid, obviously. So you can also go over some quick things just to learn a couple other things. We can go ahead and grab the color that we're going to need just by looking at this one, just to show you one way that we can grab it to use for a website to color our SVG, or a different way than the shield anyway. So we take a screenshot of that, come and paste it over here, and then we can just suck in this color and go to edit, and then we can see the RGB values for that color. And if we come to VS Code, anywhere in our CSS, and go to color, and just pick a color, right? We click on this box. This allows us to change it to this pound format, which is what we'll need. Or we can change it back to the RGB first. Looks that way, and the values are 4, 251, and 68. And then we're going to want this value of it. So there's a website that we can use. We can just search for media modifier SVG editor. It's free to use. Go ahead and drop our Band-Aid in there. And then we can just add some background color. Where that color is this value. Where we can get rid of this so it doesn't. If we leave that in there, you can see it's coloring stuff. So we don't want to leave that in there. Just copy it and get rid of it and come here, drop it in here, and now we have this. So now we can save this as a high resolution PNG. It's an image. Save it there. Okay. And now we can open that paint. And then we can just color all around it white. Got a little bit of a green outline, but that's okay. So now we're going to need to crop it. I'm trying to get just enough of it. Oh, not too much. Again, good enough. Okay, we can control S, save that. So now that we have that, we need to go ahead and make it into an SVG. Okay, we don't want those colors. Just like this. Generate it. Okay, but this has this white background because it's not transparent. You just need to remove the color, and that removes it. So now it's like it has a transparent background. And it's not perfect, but it's good enough. SVG, because if we want to keep the original, let me see, can we rename this? Rename this to one if we want to keep that one, and then call this Band-Aid. Okay, so now we done that, saved it. You can come here and refresh. Make sure it's finished saving first. Okay, refresh. And now we have our Band-Aid. So now we got all our buttons. Cool, finally. And yeah, when you zoom out, it's fine. Fine, good enough. So I just wanted to mention a faster way that we could have colored the Band-Aid. And also, like, this is a trick on SVG repo, or I kind of see it that way. I don't know. So if you go to download it, you can actually download it as a PNG as well instead of just an SVG. And that way we could color it first and then convert it to an SVG. Get color and paint first. But like you click any of these things and this first option doesn't matter when it opens it. If you hit export, it'll always just be an SVG. You still have to come to this drop down and now it matters. So that's something to be on the lookout for. So if we downloaded it as a PNG, just save that. Oh, not that way. Open it with paint. And if we just, if we were just coloring the insides, and I'm pretty sure I had done this at the time, but the only thing is like now instead of having the slight white on the outside or too much green, I guess, on the outside, kind of, you end up with white on the inside and also around the dots. And I think I just remember thinking that this would look worse, but when it's so tiny, it probably really doesn't matter. It probably also would have been fine. But yeah, then we would convert this to an SVG and then throw that throw that in the same way, right? Just to show that I know that using let me see. using PNG to SVG also has some learning to it. No Band-Aid. Can't talk and think and type and all that stuff. So then if we were here, I was doing some other work and came back. So I am back. So this new Band-Aid. No, not like that. Not like that at all. Why didn't it? Did I not hit that little box? Did I do it somewhere else? And there. And we converted. Lisa, I noticed like if we know we just want green and black because we want it to be transparent. But if we did that, it takes that green and makes it the background, which we don't want that. So we actually do want that third color white and generated. And then basically remove this white color, which is what we did in the other thing. And you could keep any of those colors and remove them this way as well. But yeah, I'm not sure why it does that, but that's, I guess, something to be on the lookout for. And then you download it, then it's an SP. And yeah, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, yeah, it's transparent wherever that white was. So I guess doing it this way also would have been fine, I guess, and maybe even shorter. So yeah, probably also worth mentioning. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna want to do is set up a global state. See, you'll see a problem, I guess, with refreshing is here on the Jesus page. I think Jesus is the default, actually. So that stays the same, but if we click this, run M4A, still M4A, we refresh, it doesn't remember where it was. So we can fix that by having a global state. Just go ahead and add that to assets, new folder, global states. And we will add a new view file and call it, oh, not a new file, navigation.view. And in here, this is where we will control our navigation, not just for the menu, but for our pages and nav bar indexes and stuff, which we don't have yet. But we will soon, soon, soon. Okay, so we just start with the script. The language is TypeScript. Go ahead and close that. And we want this navigation state to be reactive, so we'll have to import that reactive from view. There's also this enum, and the only thing this enum is really for is just to make the code easier to read and understand, as opposed to just using a 0 for the Jesus menu or 1 for that. Now we can use menu index.jesus or menu index.m4a. And that just makes it a little bit easier as opposed to using just 0, 1, 2, and 3, which is really all it's for. Foreign 1, VI equals 2, about equals 3. And we want to export these things so that we can use them. And we can use a constant. The things that the navigation is constant, but the properties are not constant. So don't let that confuse you. Equals reactive. We're making it reactive. Also, feel free to indent this any kind of way you want. Some people would put this up here. I don't like that. I prefer to. I just prefer this look. Is all. So really, the only thing that we have at the moment is just a menu index because that's the only thing that we have. We could just set a default value of 0, and that would be Jesus. But we can go ahead and start using local storage, and that'll allow us to save the state for the user, basically. And local storage takes strings. So, well, in local storage when we actually set it, but these values are integers, so we'll have to take an integer from local storage and set it if it's not already set. So if you can just do that in this file, or that's how after experimenting, I found that to be the best way. Storage.get item. I guess we might as well just add all of these things right now. Navigation menu and since I've already typed this line, I will just copy it. I guess these technically are. It doesn't really matter. Generally speaking, the single quotes in my mind represents a character and not a string, since it's just one character. But it actually doesn't matter. Um, Going against what I think, just because this is what I already did. All right, you can just go ahead and put these in here. They're not going to be used yet, but 6 of them, just throw them all in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've also got language index. Yep, thing. Type all that. Language framework page. No, bar. I have too many. Oh, I missed the operating system. Operating system index. Okay. And this gets the value from local storage if it's not set. And this will set a local storage if they don't exist yet. Okay. We just, since I already tagged this here, it's very game to copy and paste it. Local storage dot set item navigation menu index, and I'm set that to whatever's here. If it did get something, it would set it here. And this gets it if it doesn't get anything, because this will return something or undefined. If it's undefined, then it returns a 0, basically. That's what this or is for, if it doesn't find anything in local storage. And yeah. And this just sets it to whatever this was. So this happens first. It looks in local storage. If it doesn't find it, it sets it to 0, and this will set the values to whatever these are, basically. Okay, navigation index, and local storage only takes strings. Okay, 5 more, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, language framework is not enough. Framework learning system. Let's already have that. Let's see, short page and a nav bar. So we don't have a nav bar yet. Nav bar, page index, operating system, framework, and this sets the values in local storage if they don't exist. Okay, so to see local storage, you press F12. This is in Brave. It's a little different depending on the application, but then you come down to local storage, and then you can see what's actually in here. So if I refresh it, or it may not be enough if I'm not calling it yet, so I'm gonna just wait. Yeah, but it should still work. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Okay, I did not set all those. Var index, page index, operating system, framework, language index. Let me make sure I still called them the same. This should have navigation in front of it. I noticed that these last three don't, but maybe I just did that because it was too long. Couldn't be bothered. Yeah, I'll have to fix that. Page index, and the rest of this is fine. Okay, then that should be good. Okay, so it's getting some weird stuff where the color was there, I closed it, and it was gone and stuff. I did see this, and I think it has something to do with the formatter, because I seen this thing wiggle. It says there are multiple formatters for view files. One of them should be configured as the default formatters. I think it's probably that. So if we click configure, I think we just have to, did that make it default? Okay, hopefully that gets rid of that problem. But also getting ahead of myself. Okay, so I think I learned something. Yes, it really is a good thing that I'm building this shit fucking twice. But yeah, was trying to import the navigation that we just did. It's like this. I guess I won't retake it this time, but yeah, basically like that. And those are red, and it's not red in the previous project. So if you come down the Vite environment.d.ts, I had noticed I mean, I have like nothing in the new project that I made for the walkthrough, but I see up here I have this, right? And if I add that, then it stops complaining. But if I also do this, then it stops complaining about the other file. So I think maybe that's what was wrong the whole time. And now this one's finally happy. So yeah, that's a good thing. I wonder if this is not necessary. Not even using Ethereum anymore since I had switched to Solana. But yeah, I don't know, maybe this isn't even necessary either. But yeah, I guess we'll see if I actually need it. But I think that fixes uh, fixes some other issues that I had, so that's really cool. Okay, so we can get rid of the selected index since we're not going to be using it anymore. We'll be using our navigation.menu index. And we can go ahead and just, when the button is clicked, we can go ahead and, well, we can set it here, navigation.menu index. But at click, when we click on one of these things, that's when we need to call a function to do some stuff. So we'll just call this function reset navigation. Reset navigation, and we want to feed in this index. And we can just get rid of this. So I've got a function. Let's put this function down here. We'll pull this stuff off. And then in a bit, get rid of these things that we're not actually using. I have that ref, but I think we'll use it at some point. Maybe let's see. Okay, so we got a function, reset navigation index, and this is the menu index, really. And this is of the type number. Okay, so when we do this, we want to set navigation menu index to equal to this menu index that we're feeding in. And we also want to set set and reset a couple things. We can grab these. We can set this in local storage to, could set it to this or that, but it does still have to be a string. Oh, it's already there, navigation.min index. But we're going to want to reset the page index and the navbar index, which don't even exist yet. And these should be strings because local storage only has strings. Okay. Or actually, we should be doing the exact same thing with the page index and the navbar index. So, this would be 0, 0. This would be the nav bar index. There's no capital B, right? Yeah, nav bar index and the page index. And the page index, and then we would just do the same thing like this to string with my nav bar index and the page index. Now that's the right way to do it. Okay, so just to show you guys, and this is becoming apparent to me because I wasn't sure when it would work either. Like we can see that if we refresh that, it does do all of the default settings and everything gets set. But it seems like in order to do that, you just have to use it in one place at least. Like you come here, right click and clear, refresh, it comes up. But if you were to get rid of it here, let's see, clear it, still comes up. But if you don't import it, clear it, now it's not coming up. Now it's not uh, getting these default values or setting values if there are none. So it seems like you just have to at least import it, and that is enough to actually have it work. Actually have it work. Just importing it anywhere is enough to set it off. Seems like it. So just wanted to point that out. Now we can add this stuff back. So yeah, now that we have that and we're switching, we can see our menu change. And now when we refresh, we can see that it actually stays where it is. So it'll actually pull the value out of local storage, and people can stay on the menu that they are on when they refresh. So cool. Well, I thought about it, and I'm just going to add the word navigation in front of all these things. That way it'll keep them grouped together. Because as we add more, it's just going to change how this is ordered, like alphabetically. And we keep them together if they all start with the same word. So just going to change that. There you go. Big big L. Language framework operating system. Okay. Now we got way too much. You can clear it out. Oh, right. We have to also. Wait, no, we don't. That's it. That is it. So if we clear it out, now that'll keep everything grouped together. So I'll just keep it that way. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the menu for now. Anyway, there's going to be more stuff we have to add, but we can go ahead and work on our nav bar. Okay, let's go ahead and start adding in some files and folders. So under views, let's go ahead, new folder. Let's go ahead and add all of them. We have an about one, new folder, Jesus one, M4A one, PLI one, and one for the menu. I'm gonna add another folder to source, and we can call it components. Then inside of there, we will add a new file and call it the navbar.vue. And we can also add a new file called the theme button.vue. And actually, we should add another folder first called navbar. And we can just drag those inside of there. Out. Drag those inside of there. There we go. Okay. We can also add a menu button to the nav bar. Currently, it's on this folder page, but we can go ahead and move that. So a new file called menu button.vue. And in the folder, it's really mostly this. Go ahead and put that in the template. Uh, Then go ahead and, oh, whatever. This whole stir here, I'll copy this. The menu button for the script section. Just need this menu button. Okay. Something that I'm noticing is that the indentation for spaces on these files, that these new files versus the ones that started are different. So we can change the default indentation. Just I'll search here for indent. Scroll down. Change it from a 4 to a 2. Okay. I think that should, yeah, now that fixes it. So now things should all indent the same. Okay. So we could also go ahead and add another folder here. It's just bugging me the way it's looking. That slash there. Okay, so that's better. Okay. So I'd already removed this when I had seen that messed it up. So in here, we can just rip out the header. That's essentially what this is, which will become the nav bar. It will be its own component. So we can just rip that out, and then we can come to the nav bar, and then throw it in here. It needs a template. Template, space, this, some stuff. Get rid of whatever we're not using at the moment. Okay, because now we have no nav bar, so now we have to keep going until it's fixed. So we can go ahead and do that as well. And we can go ahead and import our menu button. Import menu button from source. Source slash assets slash components slash now slash yeah, nav bar folder slash menu button should be down here, and we can get rid of the semicolon, and then we can just put this in between toolbar like that. For these components, we can just do a slash like this. We don't have to have both tags. You can do both tags, but you don't have to. Again, this is actually not in assets, it's in components. Okay, we can, I'm gonna just rename this to, oh, whatever. Just, I noticed that this was a capital B, but in the navigation, I don't use a capital B, but it's by itself. And whatever, I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so we got that. So in here, we are going to want to uh, and get rid of that semicolon, import our nav bar, and we can just put it up here. Okay. There we go, refresh, and now we can see it. Okay, so in the menu, we can do slot equals n. Again, that moves it back to the end. So now it's back to being seen again. We should deal with these pages now and put them in the menu. So I'll rename this to Jesus pages. We'll have to do this for all of our pages. And we'll slap these in the menu. Make a copy. to M4A pages. Space and another copy. KLI pages. And about pages. Well, uh, okay, why are you red? What I do? Did something. So angry. I don't know, but I'm gonna just delete it and redo it. Did some reading for 8 pages. Okay, so in our index, we'll have to account for that. So that's in views, menu slash. How cool it tells us about pages, menu slash. I guess these should be in order. What am I doing? This should be. So about should go down here. It should go up here. And just paste these here and then redo on. Okay, this should be M4A pages, and this should be PLI. Okay. So now we back to everywhere. Cool. Cool. Yeah. Often in programming, you have to break shit in order to make any progress. Okay, let's get the fucking theme button. Theme button up there finally. Okay, let's just copy the menu button stuff, throw it in there. This mother. Ain't nobody asked you for shit. Okay. So we can come here in the app. We're gonna need some ion icons. Speaking of which, we seen some icons in SVG repo, but if you go to our search ion icons, Ionic has its own. Obviously, all of these are free. Has its own icons as well. Um, I just wanted to mention that. Okay, shit. This is taking way too long. Okay. Um, okay. We need not this. They need a button. Ion button and an ion icon inside of that button. Let's go ahead and improve it. Ion button, ion icon. Speaking of which, we need sun. They have filled and sharp and outline. If you click on it, it tells you what you need. So just sunny. Um, if you, I don't think that this will just work. I'm pretty sure you still have to import it, right? Oh, you can download the SVG. So like name equals that. Just get rid of that. Pretty sure not. Probably still have to. Oh, yeah, no, I see nothing. But anyway, we just want to import Sunny, right? And say source equals Sunny, like that. But I guess not like that with the color. There we go. There it is. Okay, I'm in the menu button and not the theme button. Why? Why? Damn it. Get out of here. Menu button. Don't need this stuff here. Okay. So now we can come to nav bar. Can also import our theme button. Eh, But why am I still seeing two of those things? What did I do? Like, hey, they see it in the theme button. I still have this menu button. Easy to get out of here. Okay. Here. Go ahead and do slot in for the button. Blah, blah, blah. No matter where you put it, but fill equals clear. And the color equals dark. There we go. Okay, I guess I can go ahead and get some of the CSS from the old project. Starting with the menu button. Doesn't have too much. So they want style that is scoped, right? Guess I should explain that a little bit. Then you go ahead and men. So this is gonna set obviously the width of the menu button, and this men function will take whichever one is smaller, either 40 pixels or 17% of the viewable width or the viewport, the viewable width of the viewport. So as the string gets smaller, what 17% makes up is different. I guess you get to a phone, basically, can show what that does. Yeah, 4EPX, comma, 17W. And just a little bit of margin left. Or was it negative? Yeah. Margin left. Negative 17. But I didn't see anything new. Pretty sure it moves in the other one, but all right. Yeah, it's nowhere, right? I'm also putting this in the theme button, and this is supposed to be the menu button. Yeah, be a gum gum, but I'm need that as well. But anyway, actually, I need this too. So let me just take this, backspace this, then go to the menu button. Then you have an ID equal to the menu button. There you go. Go makes them a little closer. But yeah, it really just means that as it gets smaller, would eventually shrink. Because what this is the viewable width. There's also V8, which would be the viewable height, which isn't changing usually. Usually the width, but yeah. Yeah, that's when we're going to program for ants. And we can also put some CSS on that. Grab this from the menu button, game button, block, theme button, and theme icon. Theme icon. This is 30. This is 9. And this has a height to move 27px. Colon. So here, ID equals, wait there, Venue icon. There we go. And if we put this button here, okay, oh, should be margin 0. Margin 0px. Let's see, does that actually make it move closer? Yeah, it does. It's removing the margin on it. Okay. Could also do negative and pull it closer or whatever. But yeah, no, that's what it was. So cool. Let's keep going. There's no menu button in here. The theme button. Ain't got no these icons. Remove that. Okay. And real quickly before I forget, in the router folder and index, we had this, where this basically makes the Jesus page the default page, but we can go even further beyond. Uh, there's this, which I just Googled at some point. I'll just copy it. But this says, like, if there, aside from the default page, if the page doesn't exist, it'll just redirect you to the Jesus page, basically. So if we hadn't anything, it'll just bring us there. So that's better. If not, if they just typed in, if you didn't have it, all right, we undid that. Why don't you undo? I'm in the wrong place. If we undid that and someone like went to a page that didn't exist, like they'd be there and then yeah, there'd be nothing. So don't want that. Or rather, help them out. Like, I don't know where you were going, but I'm gonna send you straight to Jesus. Okay, so to actually get the theme button to do something, if you go to the main file they actually talk about theming in dark mode and stuff. So we could just follow that link. I mean, obviously, I already have the code, but yeah, because you can do it by somebody's system. Like if the phone or the computer that they're on prefers dark mode, you can go by that. You can just have it always dark, or you can control it with a class, which is actually ultimately what we're gonna do. Okay, okay, but anyway, you can follow this link, and yeah, they give information on it in different languages. Yeah. System, and this is a class. The view language that they show you, you can tell because the setup is not in the script, is actually, it might as well be a different language, honestly, but it is in the format of the options API, not the composition API, which is what we're using, which is more compact, but you can still use it. So they have some functions in here. This for is dark with the system. We don't need that. This is how they actually toggle it by basically um, adding or removing this class from the document. And that basically toggles it, and they have something to initialize it. This is for preferring dark. So we can just go ahead and grab these and then work from them. This one, thing button. Okay. And they have these arrow and a tilde for lambda functions or arrow functions or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, which we don't really have to use in this case. I really only use them when I need to. It's out of here. Type function. Ain't seen these semicolons out of my shit. Okay. Uh, what are they doing? Did not type the function in the right place. Okay, now get these semicolons out. Not bad. Palette toggle. Okay, now we can work through the rest of this and I can explain what's going on. So we'll have to change our palette icon based on which theme we have selected. Let's import ref and unmounted. And these are imports from Vue that you use. Oh, a lot for specific things. So we're gonna want a palette susceptibility icon, and that will be our ref, which is why we need this ref. And to to know whether or not a variable should be a ref or not is basically if you're going to use it up in the HTML and you need the page to change or update or re-render basically, you would use a ref. If it was just a normal variable like a constant or something, and you put it up there, nothing would change up here because it wouldn't be reactive. But the ref makes it reactive. And for unmounted, that means like when this component, this theme button is mounted and it's displayed, that is when this runs basically. So if you unmounted, double parentheses, put an arrow function, put some brackets, and that is it. Okay, let's just go ahead and get this wording taking forever. All right. Okay, so when this button is clicked, at click, we'll say that the palette icon is equal to a function called Apple theme, which didn't exist, which should be this one. And we don't need a boolean. What did I do? For us, when they're disappearing and stuff. Okay. And since this is a ref and not like a let or a const, we have to do a dot value because it's like we're passing a value by reference, if that makes sense from any other uh encoding language. You have functions that are by value, or you're pointing to the address in memory that points to that value. But yeah, that is what makes it reactive. We'll say that this is an initialize theme, which also really shouldn't need anything. We'll be using our local storage to mess with this. Okay. Equals initialize theme, and for our initialize theme, more local storage stuff. Just go grab that. I don't want to just grab it from there since, well, I mean, actually, you could. Like, by the time I'm done with this, all of this really should just be, you know, in GitHub. You could grab the whole version, really. But yeah, you initialize the theme, and we want to initialize it to dark. So we'll have this and local storage, and if it's equivalent to the light theme, then yeah, it means that it shouldn't be set basically. Toggle and false. Okay, so we would take this. All right, and we'll need a new global state for this as well, because there are other things that will need to know when this changes, basically. Okay, so we set this to false because this is equivalent to light theme, so that means that we would not want this class applied to the document. And we're also going to need a moon. Need a sun and a moon. Now there. Gonna have to go add this, and have to go add this and return moon so that we will know what we'll be able to return an icon. Blah, 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 blah. I'm down. Else, it has to be the other one. Get rid of this and set this to true. We will be returning sunny, and we'll be setting this to true. Should go ahead and add this global state. Don't need this. Assets, global state. new file, star theme.vue. So we can come in here and grab this. Oh, need the script part. And it needs to be reactive as well. Because if it's not reactive, things won't update or things won't re-render automatically. And we don't want that. Script. Okay, cool. This should be there. Theme. There's only one property, and we can just set it to true by default, although we're not actually, we're initializing it in the theme button, but we're just going to give it a value. Okay, so now we can, the same way that the app, just want to go copy this back to theme button. So it's smart theme. There we go. Cool. Uh, uh, okay. Uh, okay, we'll want to also set these as well. Down here. Which would be set the item, and we want to set the user theme to the light theme. Yeah, to explain this, three equal signs, if you've never seen it before. There's equal, let's say if they're equivalent. This is like a super equivalent. It means that the type has to also be the same. So here you could maybe compare a 0 and a string of 0, and that would be fine. But this would say that it has to be, they both have to be strings and they both have to be 0. They have to be super equivalent. Yeah, I don't know. Usually most of the time that I found when I use is that yeah, caused more unexpected bugs because I wasn't being explicit enough, but this is how it is. We're going to keep it that way. So we set that to light theme, we initialize it if it was. If it wasn't, or if it was undefined, then we would set it to dark theme. And that's all that comment is saying. So either theme to dark by default is undefined. If the user theme was not defined. They had gone back to the other code because I'm updating the main code or old code as I did this as well. But yeah, no, this isn't actually necessary because if you got it and it was equal to that, there's no reason to set it again. Only if it was undefined would it matter. But if it was already set to that, no, you wouldn't have to do that. But you would set it if it's undefined, and that's why it would only really need to be here. So we really don't need this here to set it. It's already set. Okay, so we can basically do this as well when we toggle. We don't have this chem, I don't think I need this. And we're toggling it, so not the same. Okay, so we toggle it, and if it is, blah, 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 basically doing the same thing. Except we should be setting it here. And it would make sense to be setting it here because we changed it. Why are these? Oh, right, no, that's right. Oh, right, no, we're toggling it. So if it was equal to light, we would want to set it to dark. So it's actually the opposite. We want it to set it to true, and we would want to set that to dark theme. Not, then we want to set it to light theme. That makes sense. toggle, and then we set it to false. So I think it doesn't make sense for it not to be on the toggle. So that makes sense, but it's not necessary to set the local storage here on initialization because it was already equal and we're not toggling it. That's really only if you refresh. Oh, okay. Let's see. You're working. uh, Something else must be wrong. Let's see if we got a CNX errors. Global state does not provide an export name dark theme. Okay, what did this is navigation. Direct theme. What about now? Bring some. Eh. Okay, well, it turned dark, but it's not changing for some reason. Not changing back for some reason. Eh? Okay. Okay. As I added that clip, just watching myself in the recording can see things that are wrong. Got true here twice. False. There, there we go. You can see the menu changes. Underline is white. This underline is black though. But now this underline's white and these underlines are black. So there we go. Now we got our theme button. Cool. Okay, one quick bug. We have this set to always sunny. Always sunny in Philadelphia. Okay. Now we're actually changing the icon. Although I think that's actually backwards, isn't it? Yeah, it's backwards. Because this is funny. And this is the one. I think this other one is fine. Okay, cool. So you can make sure that it keeps the value we had, stay light, stay dark. And we can also make sure that the default values are fine. Go to the application. So if we delete this, refresh, comes back dark. Go to light theme, delete this, refresh, comes back dark. So all that's working. And we actually have the moon now. So had messed that up. Okay, so yeah, it's already over an hour. So that'll do it for this video, and I will see you in the next one.